Democracy. Democracy is one of the dominant political systems of our times, and it would be very important to know as a concept as you explore ideologies and different types of government. So, what is democracy? Democracy is a system of government where power is vested in the people. It comes from the Greek words demos, people, and kratos, power or force, which essentially means ruled by the people. Some of the key principles: freedom of speech, equality and the right to vote, rule of law and protection of human rights, free and fair elections. Types of democracy. So, first you have direct democracy, where citizens vote directly on laws and policies. These work specifically well when it's a small group of people, and examples of it include ancient Athens, so the very original democracy, or modern day referendums, where all citizens get a right to vote on a specific policy. On the other hand, you have representative democracy, which is the most common one in modern times. It allows for vast groups of people, such as an entire country, to be able to make lots of decisions quickly and rapidly. Rather than waiting on the whole country to vote, citizens choose representatives to make those decisions on their behalf. For instance, the democracies in India and the United States are representative democracies. Another way to split them are parliamentary democracy and presidential democracy. In a parliamentary democracy, the executive branch, so for example, a prime minister, will be derived from the legislature. This means that people will vote for a legislative body such as parliament, and then parliament will name the leads of the executive branch, the prime minister, as happens in Canada and the United Kingdom. And then there's the presidential democracy, where both the executive and the legislative branch form part of government, but you as a citizen vote for them separately. So you'll vote for Senate or Congress and vote for your president. So examples of this: the United States, Brazil, India, a great many other democracies. Okay, so now let's look at characteristics. Firstly, you have free and fair elections. This essentially means that it is essential to have regular elections so that all citizens have a right to vote for their representatives, or in case of a direct democracy, for the policies. Then you have the rule of law, which means that everyone, including leaders, should be subject to whatever the law states. And this is related to the last listed characteristic of transparency and accountability. It is important that leaders are held accountable to the people, and that the decisions that they're making are clearly communicated to their citizens. You also have civil liberties, so referring to freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and religion. And while these may vary according to the laws of a specific country, the overall idea is that everyone should have a right to have their civil liberties protected by the law and properly enforced. And political pluralism. So this is the idea that multiple political parties and ideas can compete with each other. And a government will have several different ideas being heard and represented that citizens can choose from when they're voting for their representatives, rather than being confined to a hegemonical ideal. Some challenges to democracy, on the other hand, include voter apathy, so low voter turnout, which can weaken democracy overall, as it delegitimizes the institution, as well as implying that most citizens are not getting properly represented in the process of decision making, as their vote is not actively involved in the decisions being made by government. Corruption, which undermines the trust in institutions, once more debilitating the legitimacy of democracy. Populism. Whilst populism is a very broad concept, and this is not always the case, sometimes populist leaders will exploit divisions for political gain. It will increase polarization and try to create a dominant ideology, and may even lead to prosecution of opposing ideologies, which is not in favor of a pluralistic approach to politics. Inequality, so economic and social disparities, can lead to disenfranchisement of several groups. Once more, undermining legitimacy, meaning that some groups are not getting properly represented, and those citizens are not getting vested the power of the people that a democracy is supposed to grant to all of its citizens. And authoritarianism, which is a threat to democratic institutions by leaders who seek to consolidate their power and put that pursuit before the well-being and best interest of citizens. So, what are some expanded principles or purposes of the system? Firstly, empowerment. The citizens have a voice on how they are governed. Additionally, democratic ideals tend to include the protection of rights, so ensuring individual freedoms and human rights for their citizens. And whilst oftentimes a country can fail to enforce them, in the ideal of democracy, this is an essential element to a properly functioning government system. You also have how much this relies on peaceful transition of power, as it prevents authoritarian rule and promotes long-term stability. And lastly, it encourages diverse ideas and solutions when it works properly, which helps innovate and move forward in development. Thank you for watching.